who may join us in couple of minutes. Member of Secretary ICT, Mr. Sanjeev Jain, Chief Operating Officer, Wipro, Ms. Tulika Pandey, Scientist G, and Group of Coordinator, Research and Development in Cybersecurity, Ministry of Electronics, Information Technology, Government of India. And now I introduce our moderator, Mr. Vijay Swaminathan, CEO, Drop.
Thank you so much. Super privileged to be here. When I first got the list of all the panelists, I was like overwhelmed. How am I going to moderate 12 plus people? But when I kind of peeled the onion, looked at, we have the perfect setup. This panel is designed with supply in mind, demand in mind, government regulations, enterprise perspective, education perspective, and so on. So my name is Vijay, and I'm the CEO of a company called Drop. We focus on labor market intelligence and work redesign. When I started preparing for this panel, 5 things sort of came to the surface. One is AI is changing every day. Even yesterday, there was news about OpenClaw and things like that. Perhaps we now know that AI is not impacting jobs itself, but the tasks underneath that. We seem to know that. The second one is AI transformation needs to be possibly approached more from a workflow perspective to understand, hey, marketing is designed with these 10 workflows. Out of this, 2 AI can impact. So there's a workflow perspective coming in. I think the risks and the cybersecurity aspect of it is a lot more critical than what we thought. I think that is also coming up. And the fourth one is our understanding of readiness is slowly getting better. Suddenly, engineers are talking about creativity, right? So, and the soft skills that normally we tend to ignore. During the digital era, we focus a lot more on hard skills. And I think this is probably an opportunity where government, institutes, companies, and all forms of AI passionate leaders need to kind of come together. So the next 30 minutes or so, with these 5 forces in mind, design some questions, and hopefully we can have a lot of fun. I'm going to begin with my first question, which is something I'm seeking an answer to. The term workforce readiness is often used very loosely. I've been researching on this for 2 years, and I still don't know what it is, right? So workforce readiness from the context of GenAI talent imperative, right? That sounds so cool, but what does that actually mean? So I'm going to ask Indrani to give her perspective on that.
Hey, thanks, Vijay, and wonderful job done in setting the context and the framework. And since we are kicking off this session, we are really, on behalf of all the panelists, I am actually very privileged to be part of this conversation. And I'm sure all our panelists are. And so let's have fun, as Vijay just said. So Vijay, just as you started your conversation as to what does workforce readiness mean, honestly, I think in this room, everybody is using the term, but may mean different things, right? And I'll just talk about my own experience in terms of how it has evolved. I was for a long time a chief learning officer for Microsoft India. And when I was looking at workforce readiness to be prepared for the GenAI world, for me, it was skilling, only skilling, right? I mean, which courses, which certification, how do I make sure that people are skilled or they know what's coming up next? Fast forward, like 2 years back, I joined the AI strategies. I'm now the director of AI strategies in Microsoft's consulting arm. And I work with a team of engineers who are working with GenAI on a daily basis on complex transformational jobs for different customers, globally the top 500. Okay, so then that made me rethink on what is actually workforce readiness. Because no longer it's about what people need to do or what they know. It's about how you use AI in your day-to-day work and life, and how you can get an outcome which you own, right? So I typically take workforce readiness in 3 layers. First is the basic AI fluency, right? You need to know which tools come up, how does it help you to do your day-to-day job, whether it's coding, then GenAI pops up in terms of GitHub Copilot. If you are doing documentation or you are doing even research, you have it, right? But that's table stakes. It's similar to in 1990s when email came in. It was nice to have, but now can you think of a world without email? So it's important. Digital literacy, I mean, AI literacy, fluency on tools is very, very important, but it's just the starting ground. Layer 2, which makes it a little bit more interesting, is how do you redefine tasks, right? Because it's now, the readiness comes as an employee. I will look at the task or look at the workflow and say, how can I do it differently? Not necessarily how efficiently, but how can I do it differently? Where can I delegate the work to the AI totally versus where do I have to be in the loop, right? What kind of interventions are required from me? So just understand that when we designed our roles, different roles that are there in the market, GenAI was not there. So it's not the competency gap, it's basically the task itself has not been refreshed, whatever, to make sure that you are able to address. So that's the awareness that how do you redefine the task. And the third layer, which is often overlooked by many organizations and it's becoming more and more critical, is the entire governance layer or validating the outcome of AI. Right? This is where where individuals know and they have the readiness to say, where do I trust AI? Exactly, and what is it that I need to question AI for? And can I literally be custodian of the end product that AI is giving after validating all the outcomes? So it's more like in the earlier days when governance happened or security happened, there are multiple teams managing it. It was more reactive. May not be reactive, it was proactive too, but different teams, it was sitting in the policies. Now imagine that entire decision making is in the hands of a person at the last mile connectivity, and he or she has to take those decisions always, so it's democratized. So in summary, basically I would just look at readiness is not only skilling in terms of the digital or AI literacy, it's not also reskilling, it's about how you use AI, complement it with the human judgment to get the outcomes which you are proud to own, right? And I think the measure of success would be, can organizations really trust these individuals who are taking that stake and making judgment with the AI, more than just knowing AI. So that's how.
Fantastic. Thank you, Indrani. I think the three-layered approach is a bit comprehensive and also something new for us to ponder on. Emily, what do you think? You've come all the way from Chicago. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And one thing I would like to know from you could be the global perspective on this as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. Well, and you said it's complicated. It's not that complicated, apparently, because I agree with everything that my colleague here said. So see, we are in agreement on it, the workforce approach. So yes, I represent ISACA. We are a global organization. We started as IT auditors, so I think you'll see our approach to workforce readiness is reflected in that. We are in over 180 countries, and we have about a dozen really strong chapters here in India. So we agree that table stakes is knowing how to use the tools, but that really to have a competent workforce, it needs to be a professional who has been trained and knows exactly where AI is appropriate and where you need to keep the human aspect, and then create systems that do that. And obviously then the result, it needs to be defensible. So that's where a ready workforce is able to defend the result, not just say, because as we know, with increased speed sometimes comes increased risk. So when you have a result that can sometimes be very confident and very competent, but wrong, you have to defend it, because you can't say to your boss or to your client, oh, well, that's just what the model produced, right? It has to be defensible, and you need the human aspect to look at that. So that's what I mean when I say you can tell that our roots are in IT audit, because we do believe that there is a big role for the human aspect and auditing and assurance and governance, so that we can limit the risk.
Just a quick follow-up on that. I mean, a lot of what you say falls under the explainability of the model, and is that just referring to the right set of source data, or is there anything beyond that, like in terms of what you would call as explainability of the model?
So I think it is beyond that, right? And obviously it varies from industry to industry and position to position, but I do think it goes beyond that. And going back, you asked me about the global aspect. You know, I think India has come a long way and is obviously evidenced by the fact that we are all here, is at the forefront of this discussion. And there are many governments who are putting frameworks around this. I think we're seeing the beginning of that. But there is room, you know, for more than that. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Emily. Jagdish, you have done it both from a large team perspective, and now you're running a smaller team doing a lot more things within the context of humanized AI. Your perspective on what is readiness?
Thank you, Vijay. And I think, you know, and I'm glad you brought that up. I was the Chief Strategy and Growth Officer at Tech Mahindra with 170,000 people. To now, in the last 1.5 years, a startup on agentic AI, which is 19 people. So it's a little different, but the challenges are similar. And I think workforce readiness overall is not probably a one-size-fits-all. Obviously, the things that Emily and Indrani said make absolutely relevant sense. But if you break it down, I think each one has to break it down to the organization's relevance and then the role that you play. And that's how I think it will make a difference, because if you look at the role that I played in TechM, I'll just take my example. I was responsible for a company that we had acquired called Satyam, and therefore the whole enterprise business was my responsibility, about 55% of the business. And there my role was more to tell the customer how we can help his business. So reading about the industry, knowing what the industry will define, that readiness is for me to be able to talk to the customer and explain to them what my team can do or what we can do. Internally, I would always be attending and making sure that the internal message is going. Now in a startup, I think the roles completely changed. I need to understand and make sure everyone on a daily basis understands what does the Anthropic announcement mean to us. What does the readiness, so what does that readiness mean? That readiness means the speed at which you need to learn and the speed at which you need to imbibe knowledge has to be super fast. Obviously, you need to know the AI tools, whether you're going to do a particular tool to accept knowledge, read, make your summaries, all of that is available. So like you were saying, right, when we were chatting that there's one-man company building an company is never heard of, and now they're being bought over by OpenAI. So that's the kind of thing that I need to make sure that I am aware and the team's aware. So when we talk about workforce readiness, I think it's got to be a little more role defined, because a CEO's workforce being ready is very different than the product head's readiness versus the business development. But all of them have one commonality in the AI world: the awareness of tools, the use of tools, but also the applicability of the ecosystem around it. So if you don't know how to apply to it, you'll all go to the same ChatGPT, you'll all go to the same Gemini, or you'll all go to the same DeepSeek and get the same answers. The people you're telling to have nothing new to learn. So, you know, and this is so democratized that the guys, when we started, and I'm sure, you know, you will recognize from a Wipro background, that when we spoke to the customers 20, 25 years back, the guys would listen to us. Now they know more than sometimes the people who are telling them, because they've gone through the same DeepSeek and same ChatGPT before I went there to the meeting. So now you need to go and understand and make sure your teams are ready that what is beyond this. Can you create a culture of curiosity in your workforce? Can you create a culture where people are ready to fail? And that's, I think, the workforce readiness that one needs to look at.
Beautifully put, Jagdish. So I think we probably got a little bit of a context. Thank you for the three-layered approach, and thank you for highlighting the soft skills also. Perhaps we'll switch a little bit gears to understand what the industry is seeing on a day-to-day basis. During our panel preparation, Sanjeev said, hey, you know, this demand perspective in terms of, you know, you are living this on a daily basis. As things change, your customers may start asking you questions on what is the role of AI and what you are going to execute. And also you are facing the challenge of workforce readiness at scale. So where do you see the predominant gaps when you are faced with multi-billion-dollar execution points pretty much on a daily basis? It'll be good to get that
Sure,
started.
thanks. Thank you, Vijay. Good morning, everyone. From my perspective, let me talk about a little bit on the individual side for each one of us. We speak about workforce readiness. When I graduated, I studied mechanical engineering, industrial engineering. I don't think I was ready for the IT industry. I did not study C, C++, Java, nothing. But I think I'm doing fine. And so is each one of you. So the first point I want to make is what's very important and which I believe our academic institutions are doing a great job, while we can keep talking of the gap, is they are preparing us to face uncertainty. They are preparing us to have something called common sense, which to me is our natural intelligence, which actually supersedes artificial intelligence. I think I just want to make sure we don't undermine with all that's going around, every announcement. We have all, at least in my case, survived or rather thrived Y2K. Y2K helped us grow the IT industry. We also thrived post-COVID. I think COVID was a transformative phase for the entire digital transformation, is what I would say. So the point I'm trying to make is transformations keep coming. I think we as humans have a lot more intelligence. Now let me tell you what it means from a corporate perspective, therefore. So when I deal with, in Wipro we have 230,000 people, 66 countries, 1,200 clients, scale is massive. So the way we deal with this, we need to have a very efficient skilling engine, as Indrani rightly said, and in her role, what she does for Microsoft. I think it's very important to have the workforce, which is really having the learning agility. And the learning agility starts with unlearning, right? Starts with saying that I don't know what I don't know, and I'm looking forward to learn something new. And I think Jagdish spoke about it, creating a culture where you are actually given opportunities to learn, to fail, to relearn, and to do what you want. So the way I think I drive that in Wipro, and from our perspective, is the technologies keep coming and we have to adapt to it. Now, the way we look at the workforce is there is a role. The role has various tasks, as was rightly said. So the tasks are the one which are actually getting eliminated. And the tasks they get eliminated, the roles get transformed, which means you have a little more time to do actually things which you would not have possibly done in your regular time. So actually it frees up your mind to do things more, do things better, do things smarter, and do things differently. So we have actually looked at our entire workforce. We have, I don't want to say categorized, that sounds very differentiating, but we have asked everyone to look at their tasks in the role in 4 areas. One is, what will get disrupted with AI? Second is, what will get enhanced with AI? Third is, what is net new that will be created with AI? And fourth is, what will remain human only? I think these are 4 components we want every individual in the company to map for themselves. So this actually is helping us create new roles. For example, we will have some announcements saying that software developers will go away. But the point is, software developers will not go away. They will learn prompt engineering and they will be called prompt engineers. They will actually, instead of doing software coding, they will be able to prompt and do much more better job in releasing their codes faster. I think that's the point. So I think the framework we apply is very simple. I call it mindset, skill set, and tool set. When I say mindset, it's about, do I have an AI first mindset? Do I have the mindset to learn quickly, fail quickly, and pilot things? Second is skill set. Skills are changing. I think in every forum you go, including the World Economic Forum, they say the shelf life or the half-life of skills is shrinking. Whatever engineers today study in the year 1 in the university will not be relevant by the time they graduate, whether we like it or not. But it doesn't mean that what they studied was not right. I think what it just means is they have the basic foundation and they have to just have the ability to learn more and more. So I think learning is lifelong. I think that's a big thing. It's not that you have a degree, you graduated, and I think now you are good for life to retire. I think definitely that era is over. I think skill is the currency, and you need to kind of continuously refresh your currency on an ongoing basis. So that was on skill set. Then coming to tool set. Tool set is, we have a terrific partner ecosystem. It's Microsoft, IBM, Google, AWS, whichever company. everyone is doing a great job in coming up with tools, including Anthropic, which actually help us do our job better. So therefore, our role as corporate is to get those tools in the hands of our employees who are able to play around with the tool that suits them based on the role they play. An HR person may need a different tool than a person in the delivery team, than a salesperson, than a finance person. So people play with the tools, and they actually come up with what we call the use cases, proof of concept, and then once we feel success, we kind of productionize it. So very simply put, again, from our perspective, demands keep changing. But as long as I know I have a base of my employees who are actively skilling, looking forward to the mindset, skill set, and tool set approach, I think we'll be fine. I think we will, I'm sure after a few years, we all would have done different things, and we'll have new roles and new industry actually come up.
Fantastic. I think the mindset, skill set, and tool set is a great framework as well. Professor, let me tap into your thoughts a little bit. So we are entering, feels like sort of a sci-fi age, and one undesirable effect that could be something that Arctic came in the workforce readiness as well. Are we going to produce the same thing because we are all using a homogeneous set of LLMs, and as a result, what is the room of creativity and original thinking? And I attended a few sessions yesterday, and this concern came up in 2 or 3 academic scenarios. Are you seeing that? Is that a worry for you? Which means, how would you change your evaluations? So Sanjeev beautifully brought the demand perspective. Maybe you could throw some light on the supply perspective.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, you started this session by saying, let's have fun. So for fun's sake, let me disagree with everybody who has spoken.
That's good.
And my disagreement is that we won't be able to train our workforce to be ready. Reason is this. When artisans were working in guilds, they trained people to carry forward what they were doing. Then industrial revolution started, and we saw some of our muscle work has been taken up by the machines, so we'll train the intelligence to operate the machines. Now, what do we train for? The machines are going to operate themselves. And kindly take a look at why we're here in this room, because the processing speeds have increased and memory costs have gone down. And this is only the beginning. This is going to really exponentially rise. So everything that you train yourself for, somebody else, actually machine, will be doing it. So what do you train them for? I guess we need to reverse the way we look at our workforce training. Instead of starting from basics, which we are currently doing, and you enter an engineering or a design education, you first learn the basics of the trade. And then slowly you move up ladder to take up more complex problems and solve them. And I would argue we need to reverse the training and say start with the complex problems, because that's the human part which AI is not going to take up. And from there you see which tools at your present preparedness in your domain is available to help you. So the problem remains with me as a student, as a workforce, but the solutions, as the time evolves, will be taken in different degrees by different kinds of AI systems. So the training is, we start right from first day, and that's what we are trying to do in academics now. First day you come to class and say, hey, what are the problems that interest you? And how do you think you should approach it? And then you start looking for tools. And mind you, that was the way of education in ancient India. In the Gurukul system, we didn't have any curriculum. The student came up with a question, a problem, and the course started. Later on, we globalized, and we just borrowed curriculums from the West, and we have lived on that. I think that's the time now AI is giving us to probably break all the shackles of the structured curriculum and allow it to be individual-led while working on a complex problem. And therefore, they seek tools, and the ecosystem provides it. That's my thought.
Thank you. Can I ask one quick follow-up? Like, is there anything specific you either experimented or in your teaching last 6 months that you said, hey, this really works? Because one of the, listening to both the two questions, it looks like we're going to expect a lot from humans suddenly, right? So there was a comfortable rhythm that we were settling down in terms of, hey, as long as I make sure data is there in 10 systems, my job is okay. But now, listening to all of the panelists here, it looks like we're going to expect a lot, which means at the grassroots teaching level, we got to change certain things. Is there anything that you think worked well in the last 3 to 6 months for you?
I think I would say a couple of years, because we were watching this trend coming and the tools that we were using to train our students, like softwares, hardwares, and we were seeing this trend that's changing. So what we've started doing is that first day of the class, students are given a framework in which they have to go and observe problems. So they go out in the society, in the campus, or in their families, and they observe problems. And they bring those problems and present the problems in the class, and I tell them solutions are boring, problems are interesting. And as they present the problems, they form groups, teams, and they start ruminating on what can be done. And from there, they raise questions of what they need to learn, which tools they need to pick up, and then we guide them.
That's very, very rewarding to understand. Thank you. I think Pramod, you have the tough job now, because one of the areas where even I personally struggle is, all right, we have to learn certain set of tools, and we have to have AI first mindset, and then there is an explainability component that is, which means, so I got to do a lot more, I understand that. But I also need to keep my existing job and survive this winter, weather, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to use any other stronger word. So I think we can survive this, but we have to survive it. So what could be a blueprint of, in a very granular way, hey, these are the 5 skills or 10 skills? I know I'm giving you a tough question, but I think that clarity doesn't exist even if you ask in the software world, beyond prompt engineering or context engineering, you're not able to go deeper. And I think you could add a little bit value there. So.
Yeah, thanks, Vijay. In fact, a very good morning to all of you. The interesting part is that the question is almost a counter to what the professor was mentioning from the top-down approach, actually. So let me just get a bit more into the technology side of it. So what happens is that AI actually is moving from an era of narrow intelligence to a general intelligence. And the key aspect over here is the LLMs are more conversational in nature till recently, and then the last 2 years, slowly it has become more taking up complex jobs and other related aspects. The most important part over here is this transition period is mostly like a kind of spectrum of paradox. The paradox is more likely from the perspective of the employer side, which he was nicely mentioning, but at the same time, the paradox is also there from perspectives like, a work slop effect and various other aspects wherein, production versus whether, understandability and those kind of paradoxes which actually exist over there. So one of the key thing during this transition, which we have to understand is that this transition may be for a shorter period of time, because we are moving from a level 1 intelligence in artificial general intelligence perspective to a kind of level 2, wherein it is able to have a more complex problem solving capability. So during this particular transition, maybe it may be there for 1 or 2 years, but then that paradox exists for that particular period of time. But the key thing which we have to keep in mind is that AI till now was an assistive in nature, which is slowly moving to a supervisory role. And maybe in long period of time, it can become a kind of a moral or emotional stakeholder. And this particular transition is likely to happen in a very short period of time. And in this place, I feel that there are 2 key things from the skill set perspective which we will have to look at. One is from the technology perspective, wherein I can actually say that we need to have AI builders, we need to have AI orchestration, and we need to have AI literacy. From the builder's perspective, I feel that India is doing a pretty much good job in placing a lot of hardware infrastructure. For example, IRA, almost about 538 petaflop is actually thrown open for people to actually build AI and those capabilities. At the same time, AI course is also integrated into this particular ecosystem. And there's a lot of data set which is also put over there. So students and the people who are aspiring to enter into the AI building capability, they can actually now do various activities like either fine-tuning, RAG models, agentic AI, how actually they work across, and then they create workflows across. Many of those aspects they can actually work on to such platforms, specifically on India-specific curated content. That's one most important thing which we'll have to look at, because there are a lot of regional problems which we'll have to address from that perspective. from the AI orchestration, actually the most important set of skills which has to be created is now mostly into the context engineering. But over here, the context engineering will also get into an end-to-end workflow which has to be more sector specific. What I feel is that AI, there is one additional aspect which has to come up. It's like a T-shaped approach, which I call it. Something like everywhere we see something like there should be 2 or 3 domains which someone specialize, and there's a broader understanding of all the knowledge across actually. So as long as the sectors come out with more LLMs and more models actually, which have this T-shaped approach, then more reliability will come into many of these particular models. And that's one of the major advantage of bringing these models into the real sector-specific use cases. For example, whether it is for manufacturing sector or whether it is for healthcare. And from the Indian context, I really feel that we have a very big advantage overcoming the legacy systems like the China is having. For example, in the Indian context, I feel that the manufacturing legacy systems need not have to be totally retuned for the AI purpose, because we are actually coming up with the electronics and related manufacturing sectors newly, and we will be able to quickly embrace and adopt more of the AI technologies into our system actually. So that's one aspect which I look at. And the third thing I feel is something like digital literacy may have to be slowly converted into AI literacy. And that's where, exactly like she was mentioning about fluency and maybe ethical aspects of AI has to be brought in. And I also feel that people have to now also look at the supervisory approach of how to see things from a supervisory perspective and then break down those tasks into feeding these AI engines actually. So that also will become a kind of digital AI literacy which has to be trained for the people across. The second aspect which I want to highlight is more about the India specific context. Over here, there are 3 parameters which has to be looked at. One is about the infrastructure. The infrastructure in terms of AI, it requires mostly the cloud systems which has to be connected across, and there are a lot of problem statements which actually goes into a kind of cloud which actually is located far away. But in India, there are many schools. For example, there are about 52,500 colleges and about 1,100 universities which are there, and about 6.5 lakh villages which are spread across. Connectivity is a serious problem. So I really feel that the skilling also has to be also looked at from the perspective wherein building some of these AI as a box systems which actually can help colleges to actually work out the AI models with the local perspective as such. From the digital reach, language is a key aspect. Vernacular AI is something which we will have to more explore and then figure out more how to post problems in local languages and also how to get results in local languages. That's something which has to be worked out. And mobile technology is something India has really embraced. If you have noticed recently, about 97% of the youth is on mobile. So we need to have also solutions which is actually mobile friendly in that particular context.
Thanks, Pramod. I think the T-shaped model is a good model for individuals to think about, where you still maintain your specialty and then get exposed to all these other areas. Tulika, I'm going to a little bit focus on you to understand what is the role of cybersecurity frameworks on all this, because the complexity of cybersecurity is increasing day by day. If OpenAI brought some challenges, OpenClaw made that 100x more complex. So it'll be great to hear what kind of frameworks you're thinking in this new age. So.
Thank you for the question. And if you permit me, I'd like to just add a few points to tweet. Yeah, what's important? It's not just workforce readiness that we are looking at, and what the response that I just heard from my colleague from CDAC, the readiness and how we are looking at technology per se. The one point that I somewhere would like to submit is, and I take it from my Sanjeev ji, that humans will remain the masters because of the ability to, on the fly be able to respond to any scenario or situation that may come. And the technologies are our extensions, right? Our hands got extended with different, and our legs got extended with wheels, and we went on. And now we have a replica of, I mean, we are saying whatever we are thinking and taking a decision on. So the brains have been sort of replicated with artificial intelligence, right? So the evolution of intelligence has reached till our brains, right? But we still have to reach to the heart, the empathy part. And so be it your question on workforce or be it a question on the cybersecurity aspect that you're bringing, we still are very importantly looking at the one thing that was mentioned, keep the human in the picture, right at the center of any discussion of adopting any new technology, accepting any or leaving any. So the point is, when we are looking at humans and when we look at the issue of cybersecurity, what I have realized is I need to focus on how the human behavior is evolving. It is very important for me to be able to map your brains to say, hey, you were white, you were thinking something beautiful, positive, you turning gray, and now you turn black. So when I look at technology today, and when I look at the problems that we humans face across the globe, it is just about understanding how we, with the technology, are evolving. And I realize the distancing between people, the distancing amongst communities is romanticized in a way that, hey, go and buy a good phone, or go and buy a better AI model, better tool. And we can go on bringing these different models to say, this problem of yours will be solved if you buy and so and so. So we are still marketing machines, hardwares and softwares over the human, core human nature of being at rest, being peaceful, being happy, engaging in doing nothing very important and very difficult, and still smiling because I'm able to converse with nature. I'm able to live with nature. I'm sorry I digressed a little, but I felt it is a key point for us to remember. In the end, we'll only
Absolutely.
be happy when we will remain human. When we will only be happy with another human who will be able to resonate with what we're thinking, what we are planning, and all of that, right? Coming back to the point of security, now this is a double-edged sword, right? Any tool, any technology is always that. And if I look at the iceberg model, then we're only looking at the top, the applications, the different tools that we're using. But the actual artificial intelligence is actually down below. We will have to look at these resources from where these, of course, today we are accepting LLMs, but in the very near future, this will be micro LLMs and smaller models that we'll be using. So the point is, who is focusing on that? We need to focus on the resources that the AI will work upon. We need to look at those models of analysis that we are currently borrowing. So machine learning models are what we are looking at, and there are exactly 3 of them, and not more than that. So even if we get very dynamic, I still doubt on every solution that the AI gives is 100%. None of us will ever be able to say, none of us CISOs sitting here or others will claim, I guarantee 100% security because I've applied the following principles, brought in the following processes, and these are the tools that have given me the data based on which I've done this. So the point is, it comes back to that human who's sitting there. It's his intuition, it's his judgment that we will again end up relying on. Therefore, when we talk about skilling, when we talk about it's a beautiful picture of a mindset, a skill set, and then of course the tool set, right? So the tool set is at the end. Luckily, that is the beautiful model you've given, because that comes only in the end. How you use it is again your intelligence. And instead of just looking at metadata, instead of just looking at the data sets that we are collecting, and we have these large data centers, can we look at the intelligence? Because we only need that intelligence to be able to perform an action at a particular time for a very short period. Can we look at how to build those tools which will allow us to then understand how humans respond? And we have reached up to our neural networks. We are able to completely replicate our neural network. But can we now look at that one extra component that is needed to be able to give me the tool which says I'm able to read your mind, to say, hey, you're turning from gray to black now. There are several tools that I saw when I went abroad, which is able to tap. It is not you when looking at the typing speed. It is able to judge you. It is not you because of the iris study that it does. So we have these smaller such efforts to help humans. Unfortunately, what hurt me was many humans have lost their jobs because these tools were used against them. They were used to pull them out from their jobs because they were able to check that they had failed in complying to some of these required principles, right? So the point is, the tools, the technologies are here to help us, not to harm us.
Got it.
And that is where, when I look at cybersecurity, I have many more points, but let me simply say, it's a, like I said, double-edged sword. I mean, we are using the same tools to safeguard for the defense, and the same is again being used by those who are using AI to bring those homomorphic models of, they are able to evade detection. So where are we going with the machine-human interaction, or shall I call it the romance? we need to, I'm really telling you why the romance, because we're happy with the toys that are there with us. We need to go deeper to understand how it will impact a human race itself. Somewhere that question is there.
Thanks, Tulika. We started somewhere, but great perspective. Neha, you listening to all this, are you worried? Or are you motivated because you now
I'm
have
worried,
this?
not for myself.
Got it.
Because I'm from the government. So I
You now have a huge.
But I'm worried for all the people I am responsible for.
So how do you think governments can approach this?
Yes, that was on a lighter note. But yes, that's. I was just thinking that how many people we are responsible for. Sanjeev ji was asking, what do you do? Well, I said governments are infamous for not doing much. We are status quoist, but can we? I have my diary entry, and I'll maybe just make it a bit personal, because after yesterday's entire session, I thought something, and then I just penned it down, and I'll share that with you. And I don't know if I got the topic wrong, because I thought that we are discussing on. We are only worried about ourselves. Each one of us is worried about ourselves. So Sanjeev ji is worried about Wipro, you are worried about your workforce, you are worried about your workforce. I thought that we are going to talk about the future workforce. That is the people who are still not in the jobs, and how do we prepare that generation. Fortunately, there was something which you came up with, a disruptive pattern, and I immediately thought of my child who's 8.5 right now, and how their school is trying to teach in a very different way of creative thinking. Like there is a app which is helping them make books, right? And that's an AI-based app. So they're not telling don't use AI, don't use ChatGPT. It's called Braille Books. So there, the children are encouraged to create their own comics, and they are able to choose their own characters, put their own. So end of the day, an 8-year-old has a book in his hand. So how are you using, how we are inculcating the higher order thinking skills? And luckily for them, they are starting young. But for us who are older, and we thought कि अभी तो हमने degree ले ली है, अब हमें आगे नहीं पढ़ना है, but हमें अभी आगे भी पढ़ना पड़ रहा है. That's such a, so much of a headache, because we have to still continuously upskill ourselves. But the younger generation can actually take care of themselves. And that me being in the government makes me worried about all the students, all the workforce, because the primary concern of the government is being able to provide jobs to a lot of people. How do we make our youth curious? So we have to look at all the aspects. We have to look at the human aspect of it, the resilience aspect of it, the technology aspect of it, the partnership with academia, the industry partnership, all the aspect of it as a government. And every time I think, what is that one brick that I'm missing in this building, because that should not be missed. Yeah, I mean, this is Monday, right? And I'll just read this because I promised. Uh, Status AI Impact Summit. Uh, I'll just read it out. Must be grateful because few months back, even as late as the regional conference on January 12th and 13th, I did not imagine attending this conference at all. And now I'm here speaking in panels and also being appreciated for my candor and honesty. After all, what I represent, the state of UP, Uttar Pradesh, where I'm from, is much bigger than my limited canvas. And I must rise up to the challenge and do my best to take my state forward in this endeavor. Status quo is harm by being a mammoth, choosing to stay put when the world demands agility. One cannot be left behind in the race, even if it is a rat race. We may say, but this one ain't even a rat race. As a race for survival, a quest for superiority and economic growth, and also a chance to leapfrog and be a change maker for millions who are dependent on your initiative. So I think if today each one of us realizes how fortunate we are to be sitting in this beautiful Bharat Mandapam and being a part of this panel discussing how the future should be, we must do our part. We must not leave it to somebody else to do it. We must look, as our Chief Minister has said, if you know AI, if you know any technology, teach 5 other people. Do not wait for any big thing to happen. Start small. You are not able to guess the 5 courses, climb the mountain ahead. Do that one course. Don't know where to go after prompt engineering, at least start with prompt engineering. Start small, grow big, and that is what I would want each one of us to do, and also the government. That's why we in Uttar Pradesh, we started with the skills first approach. We started training our employees at multiple levels, the 3-layer approach, the tools approach for our secretarial staff, a use case, a more knowledge-based approach for our middle level, people like me. And then for the topmost leadership, we had a knowledge, like a use case based approach. So I think that is where we need to say, and we have to start where, I think I tried to summarize it for everybody. Thank you.
Sitting next to you, I do see a lengthy write-up, but thank you for summarizing that. Nitin, thanks for joining us. Hope the flight delay was okay. So the constructs that we have been discussing are the role of human. How do we think about skilling, upskilling? And also the role of government in preparing the supply to meet the demand. So I wish we had more time where I could summarize this, the missed part for you, but any quick perspective, unfortunately, I'm told that there's only a couple of minutes left.
Yeah. Of course, I've written like a big book on this, Human Edge in the AI Age. So I have a lot of perspectives on this. Yeah, I just the flavor of the conversation I got. See, my view is that, look, we need a wake-up call. We need a heavy wake-up call. We have to be very, very, very prepared that jobs are going to go at mass scale. Okay? So no amount of emotional angst is going to prevent that. It is inevitable. Okay? But it's not all lost. Because, while, and my analysis is that over the next 15 years, 35-50% of all jobs will go. And it will be much higher weighted towards the services sector, which is more than 50% of our economy. So we have a much bigger risk. Now, at the same time, there is a huge opportunity, which is that every industry will get disrupted, which will create tremendous amount of entrepreneurial opportunities. And that is the opportunity. And the large enterprises that many of us represent will get disrupted. But equally, it will present opportunities for hundreds of thousands and millions of entrepreneurs. And that is what we have to prepare the future. As you very rightly said, it's about future skills. We have to prepare them for. Now, there are a couple of points. Now, the thing about tools, I think it's such a overplayed, overhyped conversation. It's such a overplayed, overhyped conversation. It's maybe not even 5% of the opportunity or issue. Which youngster needs to be trained on AI tools? Who? They are AI natives. It's like 50-year-olds who maybe need to be trained. And even then, just getting trained on using AI tools is like a week-long training. And we are just hyping it up too much. It's nothing. It should be just a basic thing. Now, there are two very important factors. The first is in the short term, which is the next 2 to 4 years, 5 years, the biggest thing which we need to train on is context. Because actually the technical skills are the ones which AI is going to eat up most rapidly. So technical skills that we train, the computer science education is actually going to become the least relevant education, and it is about the domain knowledge. The second is that, look, this thing about human will always become relevant is a highly overstated, it's a nice moral science statement, it's not a reality.
Got it.
It's not a reality. Eventually it has to be human, not in the loop, human of the loop. It has to be about constant creativity. And then that's,
Thank you.
I'll stop there.
Thanks, Nitin. We do have to wrap it up here. We got some great constructs. Thanks for this opportunity, and thank you so much.